Okay, so as I said, today we're going to install the door. So last class, we did some finishing. The class before that, we glued a door. So here's the door. It's made of hickory, our nice hickory door with our lots of colors on it. Period 5 sticker, so we didn't install the wrong door today. And this is the beauty of it, is our solid door is ready to go. It's ready to go. We can do some sanding after the fact, but this door is ready to install just like that. Okay, so what we're going to do is install the door to make sure it opens and closes. What kind of hardware do we use? What do we call that hardware on a door that makes it open and close?
A hinge?
A hinge, yeah, nailed it. So you just answered the first question on the quiz. To install a door, you're going to need a hinge. And so we have some standard barrel hinges. These are hinges that are seen. They go on the outside of the door and you can see them. And we've got some fancy hinges. These are hidden hinges and they go inside the door. So I have the door from our example cabinet, and these hinges are inside so that when the door is closed, you can't see them. It's beautiful. Those are very popular in almost every single kitchen nowadays. You're going to see a hinge just like this. So we're going to show you how to install them in case you want to build new doors at home, or maybe you just want to put a door on your desk or whatever the case may be. We're going to install those hinges. They be in a bunch of IKEA products? Yes, they are. And if you're lucky, question 2 is what type of hinge are we going to use? And IKEA likes these as well, is the soft close hinge. So this hinge closes by itself, just like that. So I open it, and then I slam that door closed, and it slowly closes on its own. So this hinge, question 2 of your quiz, there's a shock or a damper inside right here. It looks like a shock on a car. That guy's going to force the door to close nice and slow. So we're going to install this inside the door. So in order to put these in the door, we have to drill a hole. We have to drill a large hole in the door. Does anybody know what this bit's called? Anyone? Bueller? Nobody. Okay. A drill. A drill is the thing that turns the bit. Good guess. The drill turns the bit. Drill bit, it is a type of drill bit. We have all kinds of drill bits. We got spiral bits, we got spade bits. This is called a Forstner bit. It's named after the guy that invented it. Basically, we have our 3/8 shank, pretty standard, that can go in any chuck, whether it be a drill press or a hand drill. But then it explodes at the top. And this design allows for a large hole. So when I think about large holes, I think about Forstner bit. It's got some teeth on the top to cut our hole. It's got 2 blades here to hog out the material. And it's got a nice point in the middle to find our center, the center of our hole. So this bit's called a what bit? Forstner. Yeah, I'm going to throw it in the chat just so you guys can see. It's called a Forstner bit. Okay? So we're going to use that. Now, 2 questions. How big of a hole do we need to fit this guy in? And where do we put it? So for that, we're going to go to our website. So when you buy something, oftentimes it'll say, refer to the website if you want more information. So we're actually going to go to the Richelieu website. Richelieu is the brand in hardware for, drawer size, door hinges, all that stuff for cabinet making and woodworking. So this is where we bought them from. This is the hinge we're going to throw in, or something like it. The way this works is I go to the bottom of the page, and it's got a little layout for my hinge. So I'm on the website. I'm going to go down to this diagram at the bottom, and it's got all this cool stuff for me, a quick reference guide for how to install these hinges. So when I'm finished, it's going to look like this. Now, as you can see in this picture here, we've got our gable, we've got our face frame edging, and then our hinge. We have this huge gap here. So this huge gap here, we're going to have to fill. we're going to have to fill this big gap in order for our door to close just right, just nice and clean and properly. So we're going to make those shims later. For now, we're going to focus on where to put the hinge. So this fancy looking diagram is a front view and a side view of our door. The hole, 35 here, says 35 millimeters for the hole. Great, 35 mils is 1 3/8. So I'm going to use an 1 3/8 Forstner bit in order to drill my hole. Great, well, where do I put it? Well, this diagram here says this little space is 3 to 6 millimeters. 3 to 6 millimeters from the edge of my door in. So 3 to 6 millimeters from the edge of my door to the edge of my hole. Now, in order to find the center of my hole for my drill bit, the point on my Forstner bit, the center, I'm going to take the radius. So half of 35 is 17 and a half. 17 and a half mils plus 3 to 6 mils is going to be somewhere in the range of 20 millimeters, okay, or 21 millimeters. I'm going to stick with 20. That worked out really great for the last door we put in period 4. So we're going to go 20 millimeters from the edge of my door to the center of the hole. And we're going to go at least 10 millimeters deep. So the side view of my door, I got a couple arrows here and it says 10 mils. So in order for this guy to fit in the door, I have to drill that hole at least 10 millimeters deep. So that's what we're going to do. Let's get away from this web page and you guys can see what we're talking about. So I got my 2 hinges and I know they're going to be 20 millimeters in, but where do they go up and down on the door? Where do they go here? Well, the general rule, pretty easy to remember, is the rule of fifths. If I break this door into 5 sections, I'm going to put this at the end of the first section and this at the beginning of the 5th section. So if I were to chop this guy up into 5 pieces, I'd put this guy in the first and put this guy in the last, the 5th. So easy way to do that is take the total measurement for our door, which is 35, divide by 5, so fifths, and I'm going to get 70 millimeters. So 70 millimeters times 5 chunks is 350 millimeters. So that's easy to remember. I can just measure down 70 millimeters and make a mark for my first hinge. So that's the center of my first hinge is 70 mils. And the center of my next hinge is 70 mils from the bottom. Easy peasy. Okay, now who remembers our number? How far are we going from the outside of our door to the center of the hole? Who remembers that number? Nobody. Quick test, you're all failing. 20 mils, nice. Yeah, 20 millimeters. 20 millimeters. Yeah, so let's go in 20 mils. I'm going to use this nice clear ruler that I picked up from the dollar store. Super sweet. I'm going to line up, oh, you guys can't see that, sorry. I'm going to line up my ruler with my 5th mark, my 70 mil mark, and I'm going to measure in from the outside of my door 10, 20 millimeters. I'm going to make a little mark there and then a little cross. So I know exactly where to drill my hole, right in the center of that cross. I'm going to do the same on the bottom. 10, 20 mils. And make a cross. Okay, we're ready to go. That one goes there, that one goes there. So now we're ready to drill with our Forstner bit, right? Wrong. Question number 4 on the test is, what is this tool? Checking the chat. Everyone's thinking really hard. It's going to help me find the center of the hole. I'm going to use Nick D and Ben center punch. Absolutely. So I'm going to take a hammer and I'm going to start the hole with my center punch. Just like that. One hit. That way you only get one hole. 2 hits, you might get 2 holes. And that's going to help me find the middle of the hole with the point on my Forstner bit. Done. Okay, now we're ready to drill. We are ready to go. So we're going to take this guy over to the drill press to drill our holes. I can spell. Yes, center punishment. Okay, we got some battery power. We should be all right. Okay, over to our drill press here. So this bad boy is all set up ready for us. Who remembers how deep our hole has to be? Let me take this off. Come on, ways away. 10 mils, yeah. So the easiest way to do that is I'm going to measure down 10 millimeters with my ruler. $10 mils from the side with my center marks on it. I'm going to measure down 10 millimeters and I'm going to make a little mark at 10 mils. That's a terrible way to do that. I'm going to measure down 10 mils and make a little mark. My drill bit has to go at least that deep, and I don't want to go through it, so I'm going to use the depth stop on the side of the drill press. So this guy has a cool feature. I'm going to drop this guy all the way down to 10 mils, and then I'm going to set these 2 nuts here to stop on this little flange so that it can't go down any further and drill right through my workpiece. Okay? So that's the goal there. We can probably get you a lot closer than that. Okay. So, where's my holes? There's my 10 mil mark. There's my drill press stopping at my 10 mil mark. So now I just have to clamp this in place and I'm ready to drill. So this workpiece is quite long. If it spins for any reason, it might hit me. So I'm going to put the workpiece to the left of the drill press so that if it spins clockwise, it's going to hit the column instead of hitting me. So a little pro tip there for you. We're going to use a C-clamp on the drill press because any kind of power tool that has a lot of vibration or like move around needs a lot of clamping pressure to hold things nice and tight. So we're going to use a C-clamp. C-clamps have great clamping pressure and usually don't vibrate loose when you're using stationary power tools. So I'm going to line up the point of my Forstner bit right on my mark, and I'm going to clamp it down. Now it's the back of my door, so I'm not too worried about marking up my piece. If you have a really nice door, you might want to put some leather under that, maybe a leather piece with epoxy. Okay, and the shake test. Make sure it's not going to move on me while I'm drilling. Okay, we're ready to go. Fire this guy up and drill away. Bam. Depth stop worked. I'm going to grab a hinge. And double check that I'm sitting nice and flush. Looks good. So that guy goes right into the hole and sits nice and flat in there. Okay, hole number 2. So take some time, situate it just so you've got it so you're happy with it and it's also not going to move. Sometimes it takes a little bit of practice to get it just right on the drill press. Snug up your clamp, get it close, clamp it down, and then I always double check 2 things. One, the center of my hole, it's a little bit off, moved on me. There's the center. And give it the old shake test. Now we're swiveling on there. So what's happening is I've got a small amount of surface area sitting on my scrap piece that's underneath. So I'm going to adjust that. I'm going to line up my scrap a little bit better. I'm going to move my clamp to a spot so she can pass the shake test. Now, the closer you can get the clamp to the drill bit, the better off you'll be. That's just the way it works. Okay, let's see if we can pass the shake test this time. Okay, we're ready to go. Set. Alrighty, we're drilled. Time to install those hinges. Hole 1, hole 2, 3 to 6 mils between our edge, 10 millimeters deep, and it's 35 millimeters across for our hardware. We already checked that it would fit, so that's a good thing. Okay. Last question on our quiz. Question number 5. This laptop doesn't die on me. Question number 5 on the quiz. I've got some hardware that I want to put in here. What's the best way to put pilot holes in for this hardware? Looks like a screaming face. Stanley, you're so weird. Okay. Does anybody know what we should pre-drill our hardware with before I show it to you? What's in my hand? I'm going to pre-drill the hardware with. It's going to help me to find the middle of the hole. There's a hot tip for you. A centering bit. Yeah, self-centering bit. Woo, good job, Ben. So a self-centering bit is going to help me to find the middle of the hardware hole. It's got a nice little hex shank to go into an impact or a drill bit. This is spring loaded. It's going to pull back. The drill bit's going to pop out, say hello, drill a little pilot hole. And I'm going to drill twice because I'm going into hardwood. This hickory's pretty hard. We don't want to snap our little number 6 screws off while we're putting them in. So we're going to throw our self-centering bit into our drill. And we're going to line up our hinges real. Ow. Ow. What just happened? It was a lot looser than I thought it was. Just smoked myself with the drill. And Mr. K says, don't forget the square. Get it nice and square with the world. And then if you want, draw a little line so you're not guessing. Where do I leave everything? Oh, here it is. Good thing my head's screwed up. Draw a little line as a reference for that's where it's got to be while I'm drilling. And you can clamp it if you want, but we're just doing 2 little pilot holes. So we're going to get it sitting just right, nice and pretty. I'm going to go 1, 2, 1, 2. And the reason for that is it's hardwood. It likes to move on me. I'm going to grab a couple of screws. And we're going to put them in with a, what is this called? Anybody know? Driver, screwdriver? Yeah, it's a driver. So screwdriver specifically. Ooh, this wood is hard. She is toy. Good thing we pre-drilled. Okay, we're going to draw this one nice and square. Square to the world. Make a little reference mark, pencil mark for ourselves. Drill once and twice. And twice. So again, the reason I do twice is just because this is hardwood. And we don't want to be snapping any screws. Now I want a Domo cabinet. What is Domo? Help me out here. Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto? It's probably a swear word in another language. I would love to see you try to type Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto, Nick. I think that's thank you in Japanese, but I could be wrong. Domo arigato. Oh, is that how you spell that? Okay, hinges are on. Enough about domos. Domo's an old square mascot for something. Okay. The comment section is blowing up about Domo. Door from period 4. Spoiler alert. Woo, look at it close on its own. We're going to do this cabinet instead. Beautiful. Okay, so if our door goes on like so, I'm going to need the second half of my hardware right here and here. So these two pieces are going to go on the inside of my cabinet, there and there. So there's a gap, our half-inch gap, same as we found with our drawer slides. We're going to have to make some spacers. So we're going to need a half-inch spacer here, and then another half-inch spacer. So we need a full inch in order to center our door. And I'll show you why. When you clip these guys in here, these little base pieces, it's easier to do when they're open, we found. And you gotta make sure they click. There's a little click, and then the button will recess, will not be recessed, I should say, if they are installed all the way in. Oops, did I do that backwards? Yes, I did. No, I had it right the first time. There we go. That one went in easier. We'll show you what it looks like installed from the back. This is why we wait to put on our back keys. As you can see the door, and there's a big gap on that side. If I push this out another half inch, it's going to be centered, but now I have a full inch here between my hardware and my gable. So we're going to put in a half-inch spacer for the first part behind the face frame edging, and then we're going to put on another half-inch spacer to push out our door that half inch. Why? Because I bought cheap hardware that doesn't allow for the face edging. Where's the base? Well, Vince, you didn't install the base yet, so we don't have a base yet. All these questions. The base is tomorrow, Vince. Tomorrow. Don't rush me. Don't rush me. Okay. So we're going to install a couple of spacers, one here and one right on top of it, superimposed. Peace. Okay, so we've got our spacer now, nice and flush. I can put a couple of screws in there. We're going to use our countersinking bit for this. So the main reason we want to countersinking this is so our screw heads don't interfere with our hardware. I'm going to use a number 8 screw, 1 inch long, to go through our half-inch spacer into our 3/4 inch gable without poking through. Uno, dos, good to go. And now I can use my half-inch spacer to push my door over. So take the time, buy the right hinges. You can skip this step altogether, but we sort of mass bought a whole whack of hinges that don't allow for this face edging and the full overlay. And so we're going to have to use another spacer. Luckily, this time we can just use a 1/2-inch chunk of plywood cut to 12.5 inches. And again, we're just going to put in a couple of screws. So we're going to countersink this again in a little bit different spot than the first one, so our screws don't run into each other. And I'll put one in the middle for good luck. Just make sure you take all the slivers off the back so that they don't interfere with your fit. If they stick out at all, it's going to throw off your gap. Probably a better way to do this than sticking slivers in your thumb. Here we are. Okay, so our second spacer is there, our shim for our door to push us past the push us to the halfway mark for our door so it fits just right. 1, 2, 3. Impact. And I'm just going to put it just back from the door face so that my my hardware gets on there nice. Okay, done. So we got our second spacer, 1/2 inch, pushing our door to the halfway mark. So now what I can do is I can put on my door. Doesn't it look nice? It's going to line up here. It's going to line up here right in the center. So we don't have to mess with the adjustment too much. These hinges do have an adjusting screw on them right here. So if I push this, if I screw this screw in, it's going to push my door that way. And push my door that way if I adjust the screw in. So there are some minor adjustments you can make on a door, but the closer you can get it right off the hop, the better. So if I spin this guy around, I can mark with a pencil exactly where my holes are. And then when I open the door and drill, I know I'm in the right spot because these are going to move. You'll see what I mean in just a sec here. So I'm going to open these hinges and I'm going to line them up with these holes. And there is a little setback. There is a little gap here. So we're going to drill these in place. I guess we don't have to drill them in place, but it's kind of nice when we use our bit to drill them in place because we're going to use a bit to find the middle, which is called a what? What are you guys talking about in the chat? Weeb, base, animes. What are you guys talking about? Oh boy. Okay. Nonsense. You guys are talking nonsense in the chat. Now I only drilled once this time because I'm going into softwood, plywood, which is mostly made up of softwood. We got 4 of our number 8 screws. Sorry? 6? Number 6 screws. That's why I keep that guy around. Make me look silly on the internet. Just kidding. Thank you. Yeah, number 6 screws. These little 5/8 guys will hold my door on just fine. Now, like I say, there is a slot adjustment on these. I could move these hinges slightly up and down. But since this is flat on my table, my door, and my cabinet is flat on my table, I can leave this, I can pretty much trust that my door is at the height it needs to be. So now you know why there's no base, Vince. As long as your table's pretty flat. That's the main thing. Okay, so those are in there pretty darn tight. Before I close the door, I'm going to put a base on, just so Vince can stop telling me I need a base. So the bases you made, miters to the front for that nice clean look. Slide them on, center it, flush with the back of the cabinet. Moment of truth. Riveting, I know, right? So the door closes, the door opens. And is it centered? I hope so. We line up our face frame. Edging looks pretty well centered to me. We're a little bit low on the bottom here. So what I could do is push this one out, this screw, and see if that solves the problem for us. Oh, nice and flush now on the bottom. Really nice. That didn't take much. Where's my square? There it is, hiding in the blue box. It's camouflaged. I got 15/16, 1 inch. Pretty darn close. So a few things are gonna mess with the adjustment of that. That's how square your door is. 14 even. Ooh, that's a nice square door. And also your cabinet. So I've got 16 and a 16. And at the top, I got 16 and an 8. So if this is a 16th bigger at the top of my cabinet than the bottom, my cabinet's kind of doing this. That means that this number, 1 inch, is going to be a little bit bigger than this number, 15/16. So that makes sense. So we're actually okay with that. This tolerance is allowable. Not in Germany, but here in Canada, that's okay. Okay, Miguel. Thanks for your contribution. Have a good evening. Ace that quiz. You got 15 minutes to write it.
See you, mister.
Done. See you, Stanley.
Bye, sir.
Bye, Lyra.